So we are group 5 and our term project is on Netflix, how data has revolutionized Netflix. Can you go to the first slide, please? Yeah. How data has revolutionized Netflix. Data revolution has impacted Netflix significantly. It has seen growth in terms of data and has used this data to drive innovation, create value, and gain a competitive advantage. Initially, Netflix was not the father of movie rental business in the US, but it was founded in 1985 and revolutionized the entire video rental space with almost 3,000 locations around the globe. However, it saw its valuation fall from $8.4 billion in 1994 to just $24 million in 2010. So this happened while Netflix itself kept growing and reached a valuation of $203 billion in 2021, starting from just $50 million in 2000. What is surprising is that Netflix had offered Blockbuster to acquire it and run it as its online brand for a mere $50 million in 2000. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the data-driven digital revolution. How did this happen? COVID-19 has boosted the growth of data, saved money, and increased the user reach of Netflix. Forbes had estimated that the global data grew from around 2 zettabytes to almost 44 zettabytes in 2020. Netflix uses data mining to improve and analyze its business. The company collects demographic data and data related to content viewership as well as internet behavior data from third-party sources with the help of a powerful recommender engine. Netflix personalizes images, descriptions, and trailers for every user and also processes data at hand to decide the content, and the suggestions it provides are of 4 types. Displays to the user content that they might have left off midway. It recommends new movies or shows along with the trailers, recommends movies or shows from the personal list that is created by every user, gives an option to rewatch any previously seen content. Next slide, please. Yeah. Netflix has leveraged data since day one. Its vision was never limited to DVD rental business model. It was a temporary fix until digital streaming technology matured. The company's name reflects its ultimate goal of internet movie streaming. Net means internet, Flix means movies. So in 2007, Netflix made its first pivot and launched a streaming service after YouTube demonstrated the technical feasibility of streaming video. This move was pivotal in Netflix's transformation into the global streaming giant as it is today. For example, one of the first shows that boomed on Netflix was one of the first attempts at creating data-driven content. Yes, we are talking about House of Cards. This show sat so well with the audience when it started in 2013 that it had 6 seasons. It had certain data points that worked for it. Netflix's business model pivot to the king of content. Netflix wasn't the only company that noticed technological revolution. It was aware of its competitors also. So Netflix moved ahead of the risk by creating and launching their own content, first with Lilyhammer in 2011, and then with hugely successful House of Cards in 2013.
So next up, we talk about the present state of Netflix on the basis of data revolution. So Netflix, as we all know, is a company that has revolutionized the entertainment industry with its data-driven approach to content creation and distribution. The company collects a vast amount of data on its users' viewing habits, which it uses to inform content creation, recommendation algorithms, and marketing strategies. One key aspect of data revolution at Netflix is the use of algorithms to make personalized recommendation to viewers. By analyzing viewing history and behavior, Netflix is able to suggest shows and movies that are likely to be of interest to each individual user. This personalized recommendation system has been a major factor in Netflix's success, as it has helped to keep users engaged and coming back to the platform. Another way that Netflix has leveraged data is by using it to take informed content creation decisions. For example, Netflix has used data to identify which genres are most popular among its viewers and has then used that information to create new original content that is likely to be well received by the audience. Additionally, data has been used to inform casting decisions, with Netflix analyzing data on actors' past performances to help determine which actors are likely to be successful in certain roles. Netflix has also used data to optimize its distribution strategies, including its decision to shift from physical DVD rentals to online streaming. The company has also been able to use data to develop a better understanding of user behavior and preferences, which has helped it to improve its recommendation algorithms, provide personalized content recommendations, and deliver a seamless viewing experience across devices. So these data-driven decisions have allowed Netflix to stay ahead of its competitors and continue to grow its user base. However, the company's success is not based solely on a sustainable competitive advantage, as described by Rita McGrath in her video, The End of Competitive Advantage. So in the video, The End of Competitive Advantage, McGrath argues that the traditional concept of a sustainable competitive advantage is no longer relevant in today's rapidly changing business landscape. Instead, companies must be agile and adaptable, able to quickly pivot and change course in response to new opportunities and challenges. This is where Netflix's use of data comes into play. By constantly analyzing data and making data-driven decisions, Netflix has been able to stay agile and adaptable, able to quickly respond to changes in viewer preferences and market conditions. This ability to pivot and change course in response to new information is what has allowed Netflix to stay ahead of the competition and continue to grow its user base as well. Thus, Netflix has been able to leverage data to gain a competitive advantage in the entertainment industry. However, this advantage is not based on a traditional concept of a sustainable competitive advantage, but rather on the company's ability to stay agile and adaptable in response to new opportunities and challenges, as described by Rita McGrath in her video, The End of Competitive Advantage.
So Rita McGrath's video on management's 3 era, it also presents a framework for understanding the evolution of management practices over the time. So according to Rita, the first era of management, it was characterized by the stability with companies focused on optimizing the efficiency and of course controlling the costs. And the second era, it was marked by the change with companies adapting to the new technologies and market conditions. The current era, which is the third era of marketing, it is characterized by the agility, where the companies, they must quickly adapt to the changing market conditions and respond to the customer's need in order to remain very competitive. So in this context, the successful companies today, they are those who are able to embrace the principles of this third era of management. And these companies, they must be agile, they must be responsive, and they should be able to make decisions very quickly based on the data and the customer feedback. So Rita, she noted that the data, it is very critical component of this era, as it allows the companies to gain insights into the customer's behavior and preferences and to make use of this information to drive the decision making and innovation. So Netflix, it is a very prime example of the company that has embraced the principle of this third era of management. So the company, it has built its business model around the data-driven decision making and using this data to inform content creation, distribution, and of course, marketing strategies. So by analyzing the user behavior and the preferences, Netflix can tailor its content offerings to the individual user, providing a personalized viewing experience that keeps them very engaged and coming back for more. So moreover, Netflix, it has been able to use this data to respond to the changing market conditions and stay ahead of the competition. So for example, the company, it was a very early adopter of the online streaming, and recognizing the potential of this technology and using data to optimize its distribution strategies. So by leveraging data to drive innovation and respond to customers' need, Netflix, it has established itself as a leader in the entertainment industry, and it is a prime example of a company that has successfully adapted to the principles of this third era of management.
So now coming to the role of big data in OTT platforms in general, there are 4 arenas in which data has played a major role. The first one being personalization. With the help of big data, content providers can gather information about individual users, including their viewing habits, preferences, and demographics. This information can be used to personalize the content experience for each user. Offering them content is more relevant to their interest and increasing engagement. This doing for a million user base is not an easy task, but with the help of big data, this has been used for Netflix's and other OTT platforms' advantage. The second being content creation. Data analytics helps content creators understand what type of content is most popular among their audience, allowing them to create content that is more likely to be successful. They can also use data to identify emerging trends and topics that are likely to be of interest to their audience. This is done by constant feedback, likes, and the data that has been acquired through the platforms itself, which helps OTT platforms to generate more content and realize what type of content is to be recommended, is to be shown to their users. Marketing. Big data can be used to identify and target specific audience with marketing campaigns, ensuring that the right people see the right content. This can help increase awareness and engagement with the content. The fourth being revenue, which is the most important for any business throughout the revolution. The ability to gather and analyze data on consumer behavior and preferences can help content providers monetize their content more effectively. For example, they can use data to identify the most popular subscription packages or advertising models, allowing them to generate more revenue. Next slide, please. So now let's get into detail of the use of big data in the internal processes of these OTT platforms. The first being subscription model, which is the model that helps OTT platforms to generate revenue by analyzing data on consumer behavior and preferences. Content providers can identify the most popular subscription packages and pricing model, and this does not only depend on a mass subscription, but throughout the OTT platform's journey. By analyzing the data that has been acquired from different countries, they realize what kind of subscription models work best through the data analytics, not only of the users' preferences of the content, but also the lifestyle and geography of the users. For example, they may find that certain types of content are more popular among users who are willing to pay for premium subscriptions, while other types of content are more popular among users who prefer lower priced or ad supported subscriptions. This data can help content providers optimize their pricing and subscription offerings to maximize their revenue. The second being advertising models. Big data can also help content providers identify the most effective advertising models for their content. By analyzing the data on user behavior and preferences, content providers can identify the most effective and effective ad formats, targeting criteria and frequency, allowing them to optimize their advertising revenue while minimizing user churn. The third being content licensing. Big data also helps content providers make data-driven decisions about which content to license and from whom. This not only helps in the content that is to be given to the users, but also optimize what kind of costing is required to generate the revenue to stay profitable. By analyzing data on user engagement and preferences, content providers can identify the most popular and successful content and negotiate licensing deals that provide the best return on investment.
So what about the data strategy of Netflix? So Netflix data strategy is focused on using data to drive decision-making at every level of the company. This involves collecting and analyzing large amount of data in order to personalize recommendation, optimize content acquisition, and create original programming. So this is achieved through the use of machine learning algorithm, data analytics tools to understand the viewer behavior and preferences. So there's two main categories in this data strategy, the content strategy and the user strategy. So Netflix collects a vast amount of data on its content. So the viewing habits, whether the content is rewatched, paused, or simply exit. This allows Netflix to create content that caters the taste of their subscribers and create original content. And it also helps decide which content to license, which helps to reduce the cost and increase revenue. On the user side strategy, Netflix collects a vast amount of data on its users. So the demographics, the location, the device on which the user is watching the content, and the nature of the content which is watched. This is a really competitive advantage for Netflix as it has 140 million users. So it helps personalize the user's experience, the recommendation, the suggestion, and mainly to keep them engaged and reduce the leaving of the users. It also helps Netflix to improve the product, so they'll be able to test new features and new interfaces on their website and applications. Please. So what about the competitive analysis of Netflix? So the online streaming industry is very competitive and is worth in 2023 over $83 billion. So the main competitors of Netflix are Amazon Prime Video, HBO, Disney+, Hulu, Apple TV, and YouTube Premium. The first rival being Amazon Prime Video, but is only available in 12 countries when Netflix is available in 190 countries and is worth approximately $5 billion, where Netflix is approximately worth $9 billion. So the other competitors have approximately the same pricing and the same target, which is people with internet access, which makes it very competitive. So the only way to differentiate themselves in this industry is to create popular content to attract and keep users. So the threat and the reason why this industry is very, very crowded these days is because the barrier to entry is very low. So how did Netflix stay above competition for all these years? It's thanks to its extensive offer of original programming, the fact that it's developing its own content, which is unavailable to rivals. So it was the first to do this, and now the other rivals are catching up. It has a really strong brand recognition, and it was able to adapt to consumer preferences thanks to its huge database and millions of users. So what are the challenges today for Netflix? The main challenge is the extensive investment power of the huge companies like Amazon, Apple, or Disney. And it's also the fact that its power and its competitive advantage is becoming its weakness. Because the creating of such content and extensive offer allowed Netflix to dominate the industry, but was very costly, so not profitable. So Netflix will have in the near future have to make a choice either to reduce content creation, but its competitive advantage, or increase subscriptions prices for its users. So that was just done because now its users have to pay for multi-screen watching on the same accounts. Next slide.
Talking about the possibilities of Netflix getting into a different segment, we have been talking about Netflix as something into the entertainment industry, doing pretty well in the content business. But much of the talk was about how data is being used. We spoke about data, we spoke about big data and personalization, stuff like that. But much of the emphasis they put nowadays or into the future is into deep data. How are they using this big data to personalize content and to come up with that content that will attract an enhanced personalization element? Like rather than making recommendations or suggestions that if you watch some season or a movie that this particular stuff will be attractive to you, they are thinking of coming up with something like enhanced personal content where each of us when data right now is collected like in clusters, and enhanced personalization is something they're looking at that. And interactive content is something that is being discussed. Interactive content is there in the gaming, something, gaming industry and the other, but it has not been active, especially in the entertainment industry, so that each of us watching a movie might be going through a different script. So that think about the status. You can go watch the same movie and get different experiences and have different opinions for the same movie, same content. But it all depends on our choices, how we move ahead. And also the gaming industry, the artificial, AR, virtual reality, augmented reality. A company like Netflix is trying to explore new avenues and new spaces, and they are thinking about using the data to explore such space, and coming up with subscription packages that varies from person to person, that is completely dependent on the subscription model, because right now they have standardized subscription model. A few years from now, there are chances of coming up, with a personalized subscription model, which depends upon how you consume the data, how you watch the movie, and what time do you watch, what are the content. They have come up with an algorithm very recently. Suppose in a series, suppose there are chances of somebody watching a particular scene or a particular sequence in a series or an episode. So what they'll do is this algorithm tracks this particular content and the thumbnails and the stuff like that. That will come up with that very a picture from that scene. And they also are trying to develop something on emotions and stuff like that, so that somebody watching a romantic movie or something, romance or vengeance or crime thriller. So they try and dig up the emotions involved in that particular series and movie and come up with suggestions that will can acquaint with such stuff. So they are into much more than the entertainment. They are moving ahead. Something like gaming, which is a tremendous possibility. They are exploring that avenue. They are trying to explore. We hope that few years from now they will be dominating or having a sound position in the gaming industry, and also a heightened entertainment industry.
So understanding why they are moving to thinking about moving to gaming or interactive content. So all right. So we all have heard of this movie Bandersnatch, Black Mirror Bandersnatch, right? So in that, Netflix introduced a very unique kind of content, which was interactive content. So basically, at every part of the story, you have a decision. The character in the movie has a decision which you as a viewer has to take. So based on which decision you take, the story will move forward in that direction. So the reason behind this the uh, is because they want to capture the watch time. So right now, according to reports by McKinsey, Netflix is able to capture around 18 to 27 minutes of time of its users per day, which is very low compared to industries such as gaming. So it has seen a lot of potential in that segment, right? So the problem is the problem of the problem to for Netflix to crack right now is how it's going to increase its watch time, right? So interactive content is one thing. So imagine a story. Before it took you to point A to point B. You watch it from point A to point B, and it was over. But right now, with interactive content, every time you watch the story, every time you make a certain decision, you end up you end up with a completely different story of your own. So there's an avenue for Netflix to increase in, to engage the users more and more in that. And similarly, with this same concept, they're going into gaming as well, right? So Netflix is planning on increasingly open-ended experiences, and each experiences or each games will offer thousands of hours of entertainment. So games are turning into free to play services and platforms, right? Since Netflix wants to increase its users' average time spent on its platform, it cannot be introducing or I would rather say that introducing this in subscriptions or going with those kind of models would actually hamper the screen time and the total number of active users. So it should be looking into free to play services, right? And Okay, but there's a catch in that premium games in a subscription format will not be a winning formula. By talking about premium games, I mean the AAA rated games, games like GTA, FIFA, Red Dead Redemption, etc. So these games cost millions and millions of dollars to make, and to put them and to pay those creators of the game, for say Rockstar or EA, $8 to $10, which they might expect from the subscription fees, which it will not be feasible for Netflix. So what it might rather go into is making its own games, or rather than acquiring uh, or entering into partnership with these kind of game developers. So similar, this is one of the similar thing which Xbox is doing. We know that Microsoft has acquired Activision and Activision Blizzard actually, and through it has been able to launch its own very good AAA rated games on its own Xbox, right? So moving on. So this might be a solution, but there's also a catch to it, because game development is not cheap, right? So e- e- every game, just the development could cost around 50 to 100 million, and that's just the development. The marketing cost would add up to another 100 million, or even more. So Netflix might also have to face that kind of challenges, but since it already spends more than 1.2 billion on its content, uh, which honestly speaking is it is able to generate only 1500 hours of content, while utilizing those same fund for gaming, or to create interactive content. It would be able to create or engage its users for a lot longer period of time. So yes, with this I'd like to conclude our presentation. And next slide please, Namami. Right. So thank you.